The hidden dangers of emotional attachment you must let go of. We often hear that love is what makes life worth living. That connection is the foundation of a fulfilling existence. And yet, what we rarely talk about is the cost. The emotional weight we carry when attachment turns into dependence. When love becomes a prison. And when connection blurs into obsession. The Stoics had a word for this: pathos. The irrational passions that cloud our judgment and pull us away from virtue. To them, emotional attachment wasn't a virtue to be celebrated. It was a chain, one that shackles the soul to things it cannot control. In a world obsessed with following your heart, this might sound harsh, but the truth is, emotional attachment, when left unchecked, is one of the most subtle yet destructive forces in a person's life. The illusion of control. At the heart of every attachment lies an illusion, the belief that we can hold on to people, things, or outcomes indefinitely. Whether it's a relationship, a job, a reputation, or a lifestyle, we convince ourselves that we are the masters of our reality. That if we just try harder, care more, or give more, we can prevent loss. But life doesn't work that way. As Epictetus put it, "You may fetter my leg, but my will not even Zeus himself can overpower." What he meant was simple. We cannot control the external world, only our inner response to it. The more attached we are to external things, the more we suffer when they inevitably change or leave us. You don't control the people you love. You don't control the market that gives your job value. You don't control how others perceive you. And yet, we cling to these things with white-knuckled desperation, hoping that our efforts will make them stay. When they don't, we fall apart. Attachment disguised as love. Let's be clear, Stoicism is not a philosophy of emotional numbness. The Stoics loved deeply. They believed in family, friendship, and duty. But what they rejected was clinging. They rejected the need to possess, to control, or to anchor their well-being to anything outside their own reason and virtue. Modern society often confuses attachment with love. But love rooted in fear of loss is not love, it's dependency. It's the quiet voice that says, "I can't live without you." It's the belief that your peace, your happiness, or your worth depends on another human being's actions or presence. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminded himself constantly, "When you rise in the morning, remind yourself that everything you love will eventually be taken from you." Not because he was morbid, but because he was wise. He understood that to love someone while knowing you cannot control them, that is true strength. That is amor fati, the love of fate. Emotional attachment erodes freedom. Emotional attachment isn't just painful, it's enslaving. When you're attached to someone's opinion of you, you become a slave to their approval. You edit yourself. You walk on eggshells. You suppress your truth just to keep their affection. When you're attached to a certain lifestyle, you live in fear of losing it. You become anxious, paranoid, constantly chasing status or financial validation. When you're attached to the idea of who you're supposed to be, you resist change. You sabotage growth. You cling to the past and reject the unknown, even when it's where your true potential lies. The Stoics taught that true freedom, the only freedom worth having, comes not from having more, but from needing less. It comes from training your mind to remain undisturbed by what you do not control. And that includes the behavior of others, the outcomes of your efforts, and even the people you love most. Grief is natural, but clinging is not. Does this mean we shouldn't care when we lose someone? Not at all. The Stoics were human. They grieved, they mourned, they cried, but they did not cling. They allowed pain to pass through them without making it a permanent identity. There's a difference between feeling and fixating, between honoring a loss and living in it. Seneca, after losing his son, wrote about the depth of his pain, but he also reminded himself that grief must have its limit. That life is not meant to be lived in mourning. That to live well is to accept loss as part of the bargain. As he said, "He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a living man." The same is true for emotional loss. The pain of losing someone you love is real. But to remain attached long after they are gone, whether physically or emotionally, is to stay imprisoned in a moment that has already passed. Attachment makes you easy to manipulate. One of the most overlooked dangers of emotional attachment is how easily it makes you vulnerable to manipulation. When someone knows that your happiness depends on them, they hold power over you. They can exploit that power, consciously or unconsciously, by withholding affection, approval, or attention, and you will bend yourself backward just to win it back. But a person who is centered, grounded, and detached in the Stoic sense, that person cannot be controlled. They love freely, but do not beg. They give, but do not lose themselves. They walk away when necessary, not out of pride, but out of principle. As Epictetus put it, the more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Detachment is not cold, it's clear. To the modern mind, detachment often sounds cold, even cruel. But that's because we confuse drama with depth. True love, true connection, true purpose, they don't need anxiety to feel real. They don't need obsession to feel intense. A Stoic does not shut down emotions. They simply refuse to be ruled by them. Detachment, in this context, is not indifference, it's clarity. It's the ability to remain steady in the face of change, to enjoy the presence of others without dreading their absence, to give love without demanding ownership, to face uncertainty without collapsing. Imagine a relationship where both people are whole, not dependent. Imagine loving someone without trying to fix them, change them, or bind them to your expectations. That is the kind of love that lasts. Not because it is forced, but because it is free. Let go to grow. Emotional attachment keeps you small. It keeps you tied to comfort, even when comfort is killing your potential. It keeps you chasing things that no longer serve you, relationships that drain you, careers that limit you, identities that no longer fit. Growth requires space, but attachment fills your life with clutter, emotional clutter, mental noise, spiritual heaviness. Letting go is not about abandoning people or becoming a hermit. It's about removing the emotional Velcro that causes unnecessary suffering. It's about trusting that your peace is not found in others, but in yourself. Practical ways to begin letting go. The Stoics weren't just philosophers, they were practitioners. Here are a few ways to begin releasing emotional attachments in your own life. 1. Daily reflection. Each night, ask yourself, what disturbed my peace today? Trace it back. Was it something you're too attached to? 2. Negative visualization. Imagine losing the things you hold dear. This isn't to make you miserable, it's to prepare your mind to stay calm when life changes. 3. Practice voluntary discomfort. Skip a luxury. Take a cold shower. Go without a phone for a day. Teach your mind that you are not dependent on externals for inner peace. 4. Journal detachment. Write down things you're clinging to. Examine why. Are they rooted in fear? Ego? Habit? Then write down how you could live without them. 5. Reframe loss as liberation. Every time something leaves your life, repeat, "Nothing truly mine can be taken from me." In the end, you own nothing. The Stoics lived with death always in view, not out of morbidity, but out of gratitude. They knew that everything you have, your loved ones, your possessions, your very body, is only on loan. To cling is to invite suffering. To accept is to experience peace. You don't own your relationships. You don't own your success. You don't even own tomorrow. But you do own this moment. You own your mind. You own your response. And in that space, between stimulus and reaction, is where freedom lives. Let go, not because you don't care, but because you finally understand what matters. Not all things lost are tragedies. Some are opportunities to return to yourself. Let the storm rage. Be the mountain.